Joining me now, Democratic Congressman from Texas, Greg Casar. He is the whip for the Progressive Caucus. Welcome, Congressman. It's nice to have you on the show. So what do you hope came out of that conversation? And what message do you hope President Biden sent to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Across the Congressional Progressive Caucus, people in the Congress have different tactics and different ideas on how it is we can get to peace. But we're united around the idea that the killing needs to stop and that hostages need to be returned, but that we cannot have the continued indiscriminate killing of innocent Palestinians. And an invasion of Rafah, we know, would be so much more devastating on that front, because you have 1 million plus refugees in that area. It's supposed to be a safe place for innocent families to be able to be. And so we really need, in my view, and this is really just my personal view now, President Biden to draw red lines and to really push much harder than he has on Prime Minister Netanyahu, because I think that it is truly in the American interest. Of course, we want safety for Israelis and Palestinians alike, but in the American interest for this war to not escalate further, because we don't need a continued regional war and even worse, refugee crisis in the Middle East.
Well, indeed. I want to talk about the pro-Palestinian protests we've been seeing across the country today, watching clashes erupting at UCLA. We're seeing that right now. In fact, that's a live picture. I know you, sir, visited the University of Texas at Austin this week in support of the protesters after 57 people were arrested for failing to disperse. What was your message to them and, in fact, to those still protesting across the country?
Well, so important. Of those dozens of people who were arrested at the University of Texas at Austin, prosecutors then dropped all of the charges against those students and faculty and staff, saying that they did not even meet the minimum threshold of probable cause for those arrests. There at the University of Texas at Austin, there were actually protests and counter-protests. There were people peacefully assembled on multiple sides of this issue, and they should all have their rights respected. We should remember that young people so often are the conscience of this country. And just as people protested at the University of Texas at Austin during the Vietnam War or against the Iraq War, it's important to hear these young people's voices and not be sending riot police with shields and weapons to treat them as enemies, when really we should be really listening to our students and young people and protecting the First Amendment for everyone, whether you agree with their views or not.
Just wanted to tell them what we're seeing right there. We are seeing pro-Palestinian, pro-Israeli folks face-to-face there on the UCLA campus there in Westwood in Los Angeles. Let me ask you about some Jewish leaders in Congress who, as you know, are accusing the Biden administration of taking a somewhat lax approach to responding to anti-Semitic incidents on campus. You have Representative Josh Gottheimer, a New Jersey Democrat, who sent a letter Thursday to Education Secretary Miguel Cardona objecting to the speed of these investigations, delayed conclusions, and lack of adequate resources allocated to these investigations. Does the administration need to do more to address the anti-Semitic concerns?
Well, we should always condemn anti-Semitism, racism, Islamophobia, and hatred in all its forms. And that should be, of course, addressed. I also think it's so important for us to highlight that when, for example, and I'll just speak to the University of Texas at Austin protests that I visited, many of the organizers and core organizations calling for peace in Gaza are Jewish organizations and Jewish young students themselves. I think it's so important that you're seeing people of all faiths and all backgrounds talking about how we have to protect life, whether you are Muslim or Jewish, Israeli or Palestinian, a believer or non-believer, your life is worth protecting. And I think that's who's at the core of this peace movement. And those people that are Islamophobic or anti-Semitic or driven by hate in any form, I don't think really want peace. They're not a part of this peace movement. And I think the vast, overwhelming majority, every student, faculty member I spoke to on any side of this issue, I think is really looking for getting to peace. And in my view, to be able to get to peace, we have to get to a ceasefire, return those hostages, and stop the collective punishment that we see from the Netanyahu regime against innocent families.
Okay, sir, we're going to keep all this in mind and have you back on the broadcast when we can. Again, we've seen the breaking news today, particularly this protest we're watching here. These are live pictures, and you see things getting a little bit heated there at UCLA, pushing and shoving. It's not the way it was yesterday, so the temperature of things in Los Angeles picking up over the last 24 hours. Representative Greg Casar, thank you so much. We'll speak with you again. Thank you.